Hello and welcome back to more of Manufactoria 2022. Last time we worked through Peacekeeper, which is the first of the very high complexity challenges in this section. So we'll be continuing down the line to Public Defender. Robots, which had, through some manufacturing defect or oversight, become intelligent enough to pass the Jof Chaudhry test, could now be legally considered persons. Once fighting for their freedom, though, they were penniless and vulnerable. They needed legal support, and who better to provide that support, Danica suggested, than another robot. Okay. Except robots that enter with tasks of exactly 2 different lengths. Jump the rest. Oh no. Wait. Except robots that enter with tasks of exactly 2 different lengths. Okay, so this one is 1, 3, and 1. So 1s and 3s are different lengths. But the one that gets rejected has 0s, 1s, and 2s. Okay. Okay. So I'm thinking we can do the thing we did before, where we subtract 1 from every task, because that will preserve all the relative differences in lengths, and that will make it so if 2 things are the same length beforehand, they'll be the same length after. And then once we find any tasks that have 0, we delete all tasks with 0. And we then check if all the remaining tasks are the same length. So my idea is something like you have sorry about that. So my idea is like this one has tasks of length 1 and 2. We remove 1 blue from each of them. So the reds are still the same, but now we just have the 2 blues. And then we delete the reds, the empty tasks. So we just have these, and then we do the repeat 1 from each task again, and we're done. Okay, something like that. Okay, so we would need to know when we have an empty task. Which I guess shouldn't be too hard, because we're looping through each task. So if it starts with red, we know that we don't have any blues within it. And then we might need to duplicate the entire machine there to continue on that way. And then this is a little bit easier, I think, this particular input, because the smallest task is the first one. If the smallest task were the second one, we'd have blue, red, and then a red. So we would, if we had this instead with the same inputs as up here. So if we had this instead of this row here, then that would be awkward because we would try to delete this blue And then we'd get to this task and be like, whoops, we need to delete all the tasks with reds. So I think it's doable. It's just something I need to be aware of. Okay, so first thing to do, I think, is create one that will delete a blue from every task. So it goes, sees the first blue, continues on, and then we'll write in every blue after that. Once it sees a red, it writes it back, and that should finish that task. So as long as you start with any blues, this should remove a blue from each one. And we'll of course need to do our usual check for the end of the string. So let's see, so this example is, so this is an example, the 131 that they give. So we go through and we turn the 131. This should turn into 020. Great. So that's actually pretty efficient machine. Once it comes through here, we want it to delete the green, and then we should be able to just start back over. Okay. I think that's... What did I just do? Oh, I flipped this. I need the blue going to the left here. I don't want to run this whole thing. I want to run the test. Okay. And then if it passes through here, we know that we've essentially killed one of the files, which is fine. We should continue on. And I think we basically want to copy this whole thing again. So let's just do that. I think this was the idea. So, but at this point, we're just going back through here. So, this section basically is the, oh, we have deleted one folder and now we're deleting the rest of the folders. So, for example, this is, I'll make it more clear. So we have 1313. So the first time through, we no longer have 1313, we now have 0202. We've subtracted one from each. When we see this red to start with, we know, okay, we've seen the shortest length folder. So we pass through here, and we've gotten rid of those zeros. So now we're just down to 2 folders with length 1. At this point, we need to ensure that all the folders are the same length, which should have pretty similar patterns as the rest of this, because we need another thing like this that deletes a blue. So just add this here. And we're going to want to write in this green we just deleted. And loop back around. And the question will be, when will this end? Okay, so we get down here. So at this point we have 2 folders of length 1. 2 folders that are just red. Okay, so if we get to this part, we are nearly done with this whole thing. And we can go through here. We should at this point see only reds because this should be the second set of folders, the longer set of folders. So the ones that were initially 3, and they should run out at the same time. So we should have only reds. If we see any blues at this point, something has gone wrong. When we get to the green, we should then also be done with everything. If we have any. So I think this will fail because I think there might be a case where, let's say we had something like this. I'll run through this, but it's going to subtract 1 from each of these, and then we'll get down to like 1 and 0, and when it comes through here, we're still going to have something left from this folder, which was longer to begin with. So started 1, 3, 2, subtract 1 from each, we go 0, 2, 1, and subtract 1 from each. We're now at, we were at 0, 2, 1, got rid of the 0, so we're at 2, 1, subtract 1 from each, we're at 1, 0, which is what we see here. We see a 0, so we come through here and we see the green, and that, because we had a really long folder before the second shortest folder, this isn't quite right. I think the deal is we just want to accept anything that's empty by this point, and if we have anything else, we want to throw it in a fire. So this one is directed to a fire, and if we instead have 1, 3, 2, we have 1, 3, 3. This one instead runs out at the same time, so there's nothing left after we get rid of the reds, and is successful. Let's see if this whole thing works. Okay. Alright, bot. The empty one doesn't work. I'm not patient to deal with this right now. So I'm gonna do the really obvious solution. Just say, is it immediately green when we start? And if it is, we throw it into a fire. And otherwise, but otherwise I need to get here. I don't want to deal with optimizing for the space right now. Okay. So I just have more failure states I need to deal with. So it was what? Red and green. It's stuck in a loop. So if it just starts with red, goes through, then we have all my greens here. But we shouldn't have all my greens here. Okay, so this reads a green. If we have... So can I just shift this all down and do the same thing that I did here? And this, add a green checker and chuck it in a fire. There we go. Whew. Okay, our public defenders were selling like hotcakes, and local governments were stocking up on the cheap. I didn't realize that there was such a shortage of representation for all kinds of poor people, not just robots. It wasn't really what I'd been aiming for, but it seemed rude to complain, and it helped sales all the better, right? So, yeah, so the way this thing works is it just removes blues one at a time, and then if it sees that there are any folders without blues, it goes, and the first time it sees that, it just drops it further down into the second machine. So now that runs through the second machine and does it again, and if it's done at that point, then we've had two sections where we've run out of folders, which is what we want. But if it takes a third time, or one time, or 0 times, then we throw it into a fire before it gets to the finish. Alright, so that was logically complex, but turned out to be not too bad when actually building it. So, sure, we will not have time to finish this next one, but we can at least formulate a plan and get started on Solon? Is that a word? I'm not familiar with it. Rapid technological shifts had left our elderly elective representatives floundering. As a result, 1/3 of the legislature was to be replaced with fully autonomous robotic lawmakers. An experiment in democracy, pushed forward by demands from this ever-growing liberated robot population. If this worked, we could replace the other 2/3 soon. Yeah. I mean, there's an interesting question that doesn't get really addressed in sci-fi, that like, if robots are sentient and people have the ability to create sentient beings that have like the rights to vote and whatnot, you can literally just create voters. And that, I don't know, that seems like a pretty interesting concept for like a sci-fi book or something. Because on the one hand, these things exist, but on the other hand, being allowed to just like create your own voters seems ethically dubious. Okay, this is getting complicated, or it looks like. Except robots that enter with the same number of red and blue in each project. Junk the rest. Okay, so this one has 1 red in each. Okay, so the greens are like the terminating thing for a project. So everything that comes before a green is in that project, and then each one of these has 1 red and 2 blues, which is why they are accepted. And the counterexample below shows you that the reds and blues are not interchangeable. Like, this is 2 blues, this is 2 reds. And not just, this isn't 3 things, it's specifically 2 blues and a red. Okay. Okay. I mean, this seems like you could just make the same machine that works by like removing a blue from each project and going until there are no more blues, and then invert the colors and have it remove a red until there are no more reds. And then at that point you should have only greens, and that should be it. So let's yeah, so to use the example, we have this would be the start, and then I want to do a machine that basically deletes. Oh, I did this wrong. This should be, this one should be red, and this one should be green. So the idea is you start with this, and then you make something that deletes a blue from each folder. And then it goes and you delete another blue from each folder. And then you somehow recognize that you've run out of blues to delete. So you use the same machine with like the colors swapped, and you delete a red from each folder. But then you somehow recognize that you only have greens left, and you are done. So, okay, clearly we need to use, if we want to mark the end, a yellow symbol. So I think to start with, definitely gonna want like a blue, red, and green filter. If it is red, I'll just write it back. If it's green, we'll just loop around for now. The first time I see a blue, I'll delete it. But after that point, I want to cycle through until I get to the next folder. Let's shift this down. And we'll need to replace this green we just saw. Come back through this way. And I guess after the green we should probably check for yellow at some point. Yeah. Let's do that, I guess, here. We see a yellow. We'll need to like write it and start again or something. I don't know. There's no way to exit this right now, but it's an interesting idea. So let's do the example they used. Why is this not accept? Oh, because it's 0 to 11. It's weird that the example isn't actually possible as an input. But we go. This should delete a blue from each of them. And yeah, I suppose this thing has the same requirement. Once you see a green dot, you should just over this way. Go back to the start. We've deleted all the blues. Okay. So we kind of need to do something to check if the first thing we've seen is a red. Oh, okay. I guess the idea would be if the first thing we see is red, we need to go to the red version of this because we shouldn't have any blues left. And the first thing we see is blue. To skip through here. So, okay, can we actually fall through this? I guess if we had only blues, we would just see this green first. Okay, so let's worry about that in a minute. So we go... Well, maybe instead of saying do all the blues first and then do all the reds, we can just have a splitter at the start. One for you saw blue first, one for you saw red first. So this is the I saw blue first splitter. And then maybe I can like copy and flip it for the red first splitter. So in that case, that's a slightly different idea, but basically instead of starting with a blue here, I would just start with the first thing I see. So I would start with a red, remove a red from each of these, and then remove the blue. Okay. Let's do that, I guess. So... Oops. Does this thing need to be this complicated? Probably not. Let's delete this side, I think. Probably need to add it in again. But we can say something. Let's just move this up, I think. Or not up, but like to the side. Right, can I just move this whole thing over? And then we've seen one blue. So, no, I think I need that part. Okay, so I've seen one blue. Then once I see a green, I'll want to delete another blue. So if I flip this scanner to face up instead, it should delete all the blues. Not all the blues, it should delete one blue from each folder. And then I'll need to check and see if I have any yellows. And if I do have a yellow, I'll need to go back to the beginning here. Okay, so then let's copy this whole thing, paste it, flip it reverse the colors, drop it here, and let's see if this works. So we see a red first, so we go to the remove one red from each folder side. Done that. We're not done, we don't see a yellow. We continue on, see a yellow, write it back to the end again. We go to the remove a blue from each side, see a yellow, delete it, write it back. We get here, at that point, I think we should only have greens. So the idea would be to just check for the greens and then accept it. Remove all the reds, remove all the blues. Oh, why does it still? Okay, it still has a yellow. So we can just move this over here. Yeah, because we just wrote a yellow. Okay, so it will be the last thing. Well, I did not mean to press go, but that's fine. This will remove a red from each of them. This one doesn't have a red. So this should drop into a fire, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. It starts with a green. This is a red and a blue, so this goes, removes a red from one of them. There's a blue, doesn't have a red to get removed. So again, we do these. Awesome. Cool. After the elections, Danica gave me some sad news. She was leaving us for a new role, the government, where she'd just won a seat herself. Well, 2 seats actually, along with a governorship and 3 mayorships. I gave my congratulations and best wishes to as many Danicas as I could find, but I did feel bad. I was fairly sure I'd missed some. Yep. There's actually an election theory. There's this thing called being clone proof, and the idea is that if you had an election where you are running, and an exact copy of you is also running, while in some voting systems, voters could only vote for one of you, even though they like both of you equally. So a voting system is clone proof if having a copy of you in the election doesn't affect who wins. Like, if you would win the original election, either you or your clone should win the new election. And it's generally a desirable thing to have in a voting system. But yeah, I like how this worked out, and I like this design because it looks like a giant bird as well. But the basic idea here is very similar to this. I think if I move this over, it might be more clear. I'll just do this and this. So the initial idea was to delete all the blues first, and what I modified that to was just delete from the left. So it will look slightly different. So look, it looks more like this. So we each one had 2 blues and a red. We deleted the first thing we saw, which was a blue. So we deleted the first blue from each order. Next thing we saw was a red, so we deleted the first red from each folder. Blue, delete the first blue from each folder, and then we only have green left, so we accept it. Cool. So if we just tidy this up, we can run it through. And nice. Also like that I didn't have to use any pipes for this one. Just the conveyor belts. Alright, well, slightly more efficient than I was expecting. And we have now completed the entire governance section. So next time we will move on to aerospace. I hope you have enjoyed the episode and have a nice day. Bye.